The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience. It's a Friday injury report, updated rankings, some spreads. We got some DraftKings picks for you now that we have almost all of the injury information that pertains to Week 9. We'll also be live Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Myself, Gary and Thorne in the cust, breaking all the latest news and taking all your start-sit questions for the week. So make sure you do that. Also playing the Pat Mayo Experience Open DraftKings Tournament. The link is in the description of this video and or podcast. It's $15 to play. There's no rake. $45,000 of guaranteed money. 3 max entry. It's a tournament you probably want to play because it's the best on DraftKings. No joke on that one. So fill that one up as quickly as possible. Make sure to reserve your spot right now. And if you want to get into a draw to potentially pay off some of those Pat Mayo Experience Open entries, smash the like button for the episode. Leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section and tell me your projected ownership for Jaylen Samuels in the Millionaire Maker for Week 9. Because it's going to be high. How high? I don't know. Maybe it's like Method Man type how high. At this point, it's almost impossible to project, so I want to see what your take is going to be on the situation. The other way to get into the draw for 20 DK bucks, subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast, download the show, rate the show 5 stars, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and tell me something you like about the show. Boom. Easiest draw to win because so few people do it. Winners announced a Monday live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the DraftKings YouTube channel. We got all of that out of the way. Chris Meany normally joins me on a Friday, but he is having himself a time in Vegas, so he is not here this week. So stepping in from dailyroto.com, a regular on the show, it's Davis Mattek. What's up?
You know, I'm sitting here thanking my lucky stars that Jaylen Samuels is returning to us this week. Bad for my season-long teams. Very good for, just my sanity, really, because I was thinking about playing a lot of Mark Walton. And, Pat, I really was not looking forward to that decision.
Well, let's jump into this right now because this is the big topic of the week. So you have Jaylen Samuels at $4,000. James Conner is now listed as doubtful for this game. Benny Snell has been ruled out for this game. Per DVOA, the Colts run defense, not good. So it's going to be basically 100% Jaylen Samuels on the field. Now, this should be a game where it's a pretty fast game. Probably see a lot of running in this situation. You mentioned Mark Walton. He's at $4,500. Maybe we can come up with a term for this. If someone comes up with a good term, maybe you can leave this in the comment section as well with your DraftKings handle, and maybe you can win 20 DK bucks. Explain to me what you were talking about with Mark Walton right before we came on.
So when everyone, they wake up on Tuesday or Wednesday morning, they go to their site of choice, it should be dailyroto.com. They run projections. And, I generally run about 100 teams just to see what's out there, who is the best plays. And I just was slapped in the face with Mark Walton on Wednesday morning. And now we're sitting here on Friday and no one's going to play Mark Walton in single entry. No one's going to play him in cash games. No one's going to play him in 3 max. And he is going to go, all the Mark Walton teams just switched to Jaylen Samuels teams, but nothing has changed with Mark Walton. He played 87% of the snaps for Miami last week and, is probably going to be in a similar role in a closer game this week. And, I still think he's a decent play. And there's not a good DFS term for that. We have terms for all of these other things, but there's not a good term for player who starts the week as a good play, remains a good play, but everyone gets off of him because of an injury replacement.
Well, what do you think in the Millie Maker that Samuel's ownership is going to be? I'm going to guess like 41%.
I was going to say 45% seems good, but have we had a 50% owned player yet in the Millie Maker this year? If not, Samuels has to be the odds-on favorite to be the first one.
So what would you say that Walton's ownership is going to come in at, like 5%, maybe less?
Yeah, 8% kind of like is gonna be what it would top out at, and even that seems like a little aggressive.
So when I had Raza on the show on Wednesday, we talked about if you played 10 lineups, how many of them would have Jaylen Samuels in them, and I was thinking like 10 of 10. But is it prudent to do like 8 of 10 lineups with Jaylen Samuels, maybe 2 of 10 with Mark Walton?
Well, it's just, that depends on what your goal in playing DFS is. If you are just wanting to get, as many optimal lineups in there as you can, I tend to be very aggressive with those good value plays. Like I locked Latavius Murray last week. I locked Wayne Gallman when the Giants played against Washington. So for me, I think the answer is clearly 10 of 10. Someone who is a little bit more of like a game theory player, which if I'm not mistaken, if I remember from listening to Raza on the golf shows, he's a little bit more into the game theory, a little bit less into the precise projection of players. So his answer being 8 of 10 would not surprise me. But for me, I tend to align just a little bit closer to the player values, just 10 of 10 for me. And that's what I'll be doing. I will have Jalen Samuels in all my lineups.
Would you play both of them in a lineup together? And that way you have access to not only either McCaffrey or Cook, you can then have like 2 top end receivers or a top end tight end, whatever it might be, because it does seem like the majority of DraftKings lineups this week are going to be McCaffrey and Jalen Samuels or Cook and Jalen Samuels, and then like Kenny Golladay at receiver and move on from there.
Yeah, I mean the chalk roster construction is one of the 2 running backs who's more expensive than $9,000, Jalen Samuels, and then like a $7,000 running back. And if you go with Mark Walton, if you go with Jalen Samuels, and then maybe you don't play a 9K running back at all, maybe you play Chris Carson with them, you could play 3 expensive wide receivers, get away from the DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel chalk, and all of a sudden you have a lineup construction that's like that's just going to be like a non-duplicated lineup.
Yeah, it's tough to find like dupe lineups. I know there's only 10 games on the main slate this week, but I think we think too much about that in terms of the duplication factor when it comes to like the Millionaire Maker, some of these giant GPPs. I think it's just you end up in like a 1v1 situation if you end up getting too chalky.
Right.
And this way you can take yourself off of that if you hit the spike guy. Like I'm looking at my season long, like weekly rankings right now. Like I have McCaffrey, Cook, Barkley, Elliott, Bell, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I have Fournette, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Jalen Samuels. That's how it goes. Should Samuels be higher on that list? Like, I know DraftKings wise, the price is so appealing. That's why everyone's going to play him. But would you, like, instead of playing like Cook and Jalen Samuels, could you see yourself playing like Chubb and Jalen Samuels?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not in like a single entry or a 3 max format, but in MME, like if I was like hand making 10 teams in the Millionaire Maker, I could definitely see doing that on a few. I mean, the issue you run into with Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey is they are so expensive that they have to score a lot of points to be in the optimal lineup. Like we're talking about, they probably, I mean, for sure they have to crack 30, and, CMC at 10K, he might have to crack 35 to be in the optimal winning lineup.
I don't think that's going to, it seems to like right now, we'll get to the complete ownership projections a little bit later on from fansharesports.com, but it does feel like a lot of people are going Cook over McCaffrey this week.
Why? Can you come up with one good reason?
Because he's cheaper.
That feels so bad to me.
Listen, I'm just reporting what I'm seeing. I would play McCaffrey over Cook, but that's me, and I lose every week, so maybe I'm doing it wrong.
I guess that's true. I'm on just an extremely bad run in cash games right now. So maybe I'm just, maybe I'm not seeing the ball clearly, but to me, McCaffrey is like 4 or 5 points better than Dalvin Cook.
I think so too. Even in this matchup, it could just be a situation where the Vikings have underperformed on the road against like good teams. And I know this is a probably Mahomes-less Chiefs team, but I don't know if they're the most trustworthy team on the road. They tend to lay eggs.
Well, and the one thing is that Kirk Cousins is really good in clean pockets, really good when he's not pressured at all. Literally the only good part of the Kansas City Chiefs team right now is the fact that they can theoretically pressure the passer.
I just really think that if you're not going to use McCaffrey, I don't know if Cook is the next logical guy to go to. Like, oh, I want those savings. If you're just going to do that, go to the savings of the guys in the $7,000 range. Like, I do think that Nick Chubb is a really good play at $7,300. I think that Bell is a really good play at $77.
Yeah, I like both of them, and I think that they are much more comparable in projection to Cook than Cook is to McCaffrey. So right now on Daily Roto, we have Christian McCaffrey like almost 6.5 points better than Dalvin Cook, but we have Nick Chubb and Dalvin Cook right next to one another in terms of just raw projection.
If people want to get access to the optimizer and all the daily roto projections, you can use the promo code THEPME at checkout. Get yourself a discount, then you have access to all of these tools that Davis uses to lose every single week.
I lose, but my lineups are very good in theory, Pat, though. They like no one is like earning more theoretical dollars right now than I am.
I mean, that isn't that just basically you're the Bitcoin of daily fantasy? You're theoretical money.
Well, I mean, hey, Bitcoin's pumping right now, so I think maybe I'm more like one of those scam coins at the moment. I'm like XRP of DFS right now.
Yeah, you're the Facebook currency of DFS.
Oof. I'm so bummed out that my favorite cryptocurrency podcast stopped making episodes because this Facebook currency stuff right now with like them basically getting canceled would be, I mean, it's gold. It's just gold.
It sounds like a real niche for you to jump in and start your own cryptocurrency show.
I mean, I would imagine that, taking my semi-popular sports podcast and turning it into a very unpopular cryptocurrency podcast would not be a good career move.
Yeah, but it seems to be like the decision you make with your lineups every week. It sounds like it's right in your lane to do that.
It would definitely be very on brand for me to take something good and then at the very last minute just decide to make it bad on purpose.
Well, the Atlanta Falcons have a bye week this week, but you had Brian Hill on the show. It's up right now, the Take Cast on iTunes, wherever you get your podcast from. Give us some highlights from that, please.
Well, the number one highlight has to be Brian Hill basically admitting that running backs don't matter. I asked him, I was like, look, all these nerds on the internet, they all think that running backs don't matter. What do you say to these people? And he was like, well, okay, quarterbacks matter more and wide receivers definitely matter more and the left tackle matters more. And then he proceeded to explain that running backs basically in any given offense, they need to know how to do like 4 things. And the only time when there's like a difference is when they catch the ball. So basically when they become wide receivers is the only time that there's like a huge difference in between them. So some pretty illuminating discussions for real football nerds out there.
And if people do want to subscribe to the Take Cast, I'm going to be appearing at some point. When's that show coming out?
That's going to be next week. I imagine that is going to be released on Wednesday morning. And guess who else we're having on? We are having a bona fide actual writer of The Simpsons come on the podcast next week.
Bill Oakley.
Oh no, come on. I'm not that big time. You wouldn't even know his name. His name is Michael Price. So he wasn't even one of the golden year writers, but I'm working my way up to have Bill and Josh on.
So this goes well, maybe then you can like Ian Maxtone Graham, then you can up a level.
Yeah, or the guy I really want to have on is David Cohen. I think he would be, I mean, well, clearly the Mount Rushmore guest would be Matt Groening, but David Cohen would be like the realistic, attainable podcast guest.
I think you'd want to have Jim Brooks on before Matt Groening.
I've heard Groening is a little grumpy with his media appearances. Jim Brooks would be very good too.
Yeah, and you can have an Oscar-winning filmmaker along with the creator of The Simpsons on. That seems like it would work out really well.
It seems like it would be, I mean, it would be interesting for the listeners. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting branding. Like the collection of people who have appeared on that podcast is going to start getting really fascinating once we get like 200 episodes in.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I need to bank all my appearances right now. So for when you get too big time, it's just going to be like, hey, Pat Mayo is the most frequent guest.
It's true. I actually counted. Once we get this new episode up, you're gonna be over Drew. However, we have launched season 2 of the show now, so Drew gets to bank an appearance every week doing basketball shows. So he's gonna pass you and you're not gonna be able to catch up.
So you say I can't catch up. Don't doubt me. All right, I'm like John Locke from Lost. Don't tell me what I can't do, Davis.
Where do you stand on Lost? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Big thumbs up. Love Lost. I mean, I'm as frustrated with the ending as everyone else is, but like I would take, like I've rewatched it like 5 or 6 times now. Like I'm in on the journey of Lost. It's a great rewatch. And if you want to be pissed about the ending and that like ruins the entire thing for you, then fuck off. The rest of the show is great.
The actual ending, as in the finale episode, did not make me too upset. The by far to me the most disappointing thing was how they ended Saeed's storyline, because he was my favorite character, and the fact that he basically just became like a murder zombie at the end. I really hated that. Yeah,
listen, if you just want to watch to the end of season 5 and come up with your own ending, that's probably the optimal way to do it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't hate that. Where do you stand on Breaking Bad versus The Wire in terms of like greatest show ever?
I mean, I don't know if those would be the final two in my discussion, but The Wire is significantly better than Breaking Bad.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm rewatching Breaking Bad right now, and I am sort of taken aback by, like, I did not remember it being quite as good as it is. I'm right near the end of season 3, and I'm like, this is very good TV.
Oh, it's amazing. Listen, I'm not here to disparage how good Breaking Bad was, but it really relies very much on like the Lost template of the last 5 minutes of every episode. It's made for binge
Right.
watching. It's funny that
Yes,
it was
yeah.
a series that just came on, but it makes a lot of sense that it got so popular when people started binging it, because you would watch an episode at like 1 a.m. and you'd see the last 5 minutes of an episode, be like, oh shit, I need to watch what's next. The Wire is not like that.
No, The Wire is more of like it's like you're reading a book. Like it's just a little bit more of a continuous storyline, and you can keep watching, and all of the interactions and moments are meaningful, and there's great callbacks and stuff later on in the seasons as well. I completely agree.
Like, I'm still on board with Mad Men being better than both of them. So that's my crazy take on the situation. But Mad Men is just, it's really the peak. Like, you could throw Sopranos in there as well. But like, I do think that overall, Mad Men is the best of all those shows.
I don't know if this is going to get me kicked off, but I never finished Mad Men.
How did you not finish Mad Men? It was too good? You were like, I can't watch this. This just doesn't
So if
deserve my viewing.
So if I remember right, I had cable when I lived at one of my houses in college, and then I moved from one group of buddies into another group of buddies in college, and had been watching it with the one group, and like, in between seasons happened, and I think I just never watched seasons 5 and 6.
Wow, that seems like a better use of your time than rewatching Breaking Bad for the 5th time.
This is only my second time. This is only my second time rewatching Breaking Bad. So maybe after this, I will rewatch Mad Men.
It's funny. Meanie gets off the show for 1 week and we get derailed like 7 minutes into the show. Let's go back to running backs here. The full injury report as I have it right now. Jalen Samuels, Trey Carson, Royce Freeman, Miles Sanders, and Darren Sproles all expected to play. James Conner doubtful. Benny Snell out. Chris Thompson out for the Redskins. Some more Peterson, Wendell, Smallwood 1-2 against the Bills. And that's really it. Does anything there really stick out to you as something we really need to pay attention to? Because that's all really back end type of stuff. Maybe Trey Carson starts for the Lions, but do you really want to start any Lions running back? We fell into that trap last week. And if people want to say that the Ty Johnson situation is equivalent to the Jalen Samuel situation, it's not.
No, it's not, because JD McKissick is still going to play a fair bit. However, I actually don't know if I'm doing 150 teams this week, because I just don't really like the games all that much. And I think the chalk spots are so obvious. But if I do end up deciding to register for 500 lineups again or whatever this week, Ty Johnson would definitely be in my MME mix, because super high total game. It's like a way to get players in that game who, I mean, Ty Johnson is going to be like 3% owned after disappointing people last week.
There is
Oakland
no way he gets to 3. If he's 0.3% owned, I'd be stunned.
Yeah, so he's completely off the board. He actually had a touchdown last week. Stafford just overthrew him, but he was wide open. He was right there. If he scores that touchdown, people are happy with him. And the fact that Carson basically didn't practice on Friday, from what I read, they cut Paul Perkins. It seems like he should be in line for about 50% of the snaps, probably 10 to 13 rushes, and like 4 to 6 targets. So that's pretty good to me against Oakland.
I thought Carson returned to practice today. I thought that was the thing.
The tweet that I saw was that he was at practice, but he basically just like stood around watching people on the side. Like he didn't get full work in at all.
And see, the last report was Matt Patricia confirms Trey Carson will practice on Friday. That would be it.
That would be today.
And Paul Perkins re-signed to the practice squad where he had once lived.
Good for him. Yeah, I mean, I also think they sign Jay Ajayi as well, or maybe they just brought him in for a workout.
Yeah, they worked him out today. So I guess maybe that's probably kind of shows that maybe Trey Carson doesn't play or not. Wasn't even really thinking of Ty Johnson at all. Like, how far down the season-long list would you have to go to start Ty Johnson on your team this week?
I would start him over any of the Tampa Bay running backs, which is decisions that people are going to have to make.
Like, I have him right now in between Tariq Cohen and Kalen Ballage in my rankings at like 38.
Oh, I would start him over those guys. Like I would start him over everyone up to like the Frank Gore, LaShawn McCoy wrote. Like I would start him over Hines. I would start him over Madison, Dion Lewis,
Yeah.
Rashad Penny, Wendell Smallwood.
Oh, I'm with you on that. So the rankings actually go Jamal Williams, Adrian Peterson, Frank Gore, Sony Michel, Mark Walton, Miles Sanders, Singletary, McCoy, Duke Johnson, Tariq Cohen, Ty Johnson.
See, like I think I would play like I mean our rankings obviously are not going to be exactly the same, but I would for sure play him over Adrian Peterson.
Really? Why?
Adrian Peterson's going to get like 6 points this week.
He might, but that's probably, I mean, if you told me that Adrian Peterson had 6 points by the end of the game, that still might be more than Ty Johnson.
No, Ty Johnson, he's going to get points. He's going to get points this week. I feel pretty good about him having a good PPR day.
All right, we'll see about that. I don't really have a strong take either way. It just feels like he's not going to do very well.
I also, Pat, I really need this for 2 of my high stakes fantasy football teams. We went all in on him on Fab. So I'm definitely approaching this situation with rose-colored Ty Johnson glasses.
Ah, yes. It's like when anyone tunes into my challenge show and I'm just big on Jordan on the challenge. It's because he's the captain of my fantasy team. I need him to do well.
This is the same thing. Yeah, basically like Ty Johnson, if he has a really good week this week, is going to like lock me into profit this year in high stakes fantasy football by getting one of our like big teams into the playoffs. So that's going to be very crucial for me.
Wide receiver injuries going into week 9. I got Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, Marquise Brown, Adam Thielen, and Sterling Shepard, who passed concussion protocol. All is in. I added D.D. Westbrook into the rankings as well. It appears like he is going to try to play in the early game in London, so you're going to know right away.
I do not trust it though.
I don't think he makes it through the entire game. That's the problem. But if he's playing, I have to rank him somewhere. I can't just say he's out, because if he does play, that means he's going to take snaps away from Chris Conley, which then renders him inert as well.
Actually, Conley has played a little bit more than I realized. He's been over 70% of the snaps for 2 weeks in a row, which means he was playing a little bit before. He's just been they've just been playing with less tight ends because they only have a rookie left. Their only tight ends on the roster now are Josh Oliver and Seth DeValve. So they've been using Conley. They've just been using more like 4 wide receiver stuff. But I have DD ranked like 10 spots lower this week than I would if I thought he was fully healthy.
Yeah, I have him way down in the rankings just because of the re-injury risk that comes along with him this week. Like I have him, let's see, Deshaun Jackson's actually on track to play as well. Like I have Deshaun Jackson ahead of him.
I would play Deshaun Jackson over him for sure, just because Deshaun Jackson can he can just do it on one play. He doesn't even have to come back and play 100% of the snaps. He can come back and play 25% of the snaps and just get one long one.
I actually have D.D. Westbrook 1 spot behind Taylor Gabriel in the rankings. So that's where I'm feeling him this week.
Yeah, I have Westbrook in a couple leagues, and I'm going to start him.
I have him on like all my teams, and I'm trying to figure out a way to not have to play him this week.
Well, here's your way. You just pick up Zach Pascal, starting with T.Y. Hilton out.
Yeah, it's fine. I have Zach Pascal listed above him. So yeah, the rest of the injury report at receiver, Curtis Samuel hasn't practiced all week, but they're still saying that he's likely to play against Tennessee. We'll see.
Well, wait, no, he practiced Wednesday, right? And then got hurt.
Then got hurt. And he hasn't practiced the next 2 days. But they're saying that he's more likely to play than not play.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge decision point. He is basically the number 1 value wide receiver of the week in terms of both ownership projections and like the actual projections that I'm using here at Daily Roto. Like he is, for me though, I would rather play DJ Moore, who just is like the more stable week to week scoring wide receiver. But people love themselves some Curtis Samuel, Pat. I don't know how this happened, but he has quite the online following.
Yeah, it's Matt Harmon. Matt Harmon wrote him up in the preseason. Everyone jumped aboard. I've been big on, I love DJ Moore. I'm using DJ Moore this week. I basically use DJ Moore, I wouldn't say every week, but I did when Cam was starting. But right now, he's still going to get like 25% of the market share in that offense. Like, if McCaffrey's not doing it, then it's going to be DJ Moore.
Well, the really interesting thing about that offense is they are super narrow in terms of their usage. I mean, 3 players basically get about 70% of their offense, but people are going to have to ask themselves, okay, am I comfortable playing Moore and Samuel together? without Kyle Allen, because those are going to be a ton of the lineups that you get if you're using an optimizer, or even if you're hand building. If you're sitting there, you're sitting the night before and you're hand building teams on DraftKings, and you're like, okay, I got McCaffrey. I think DJ Moore's a really good play. Okay, I got the guy like a tight end. I got this running back. Like, okay, I need a cheap wide receiver. You're going to see Curtis Samuel's name there, and you have to ask yourself, like, am I really going to play 3 Panthers in the same lineup without their quarterback? Like, I think maybe it might be good on like a 50th, like a median projection perspective, but there's like no way that can be good from a ceiling perspective.
No, obviously not. Like, I'm just good with not playing Curtis Samuel on DraftKings, but I would even try to find almost like D.D. Westbrook. Like, I don't know how serious or non-serious this injury is, but it feels like if he's missed practice the last 2 days after getting injured midweek, that he would have a high likelihood of getting re-injured over like a neutral situation.
Or of just not being able to play his full complement of snaps. Like maybe it's a pain management thing, and he's got, his shoulders hurt and he takes a hit and he comes out and then he comes back in. And it seems like maybe they probably wouldn't call a lot of over the field type stuff with him. Like it feels like a situation to be avoided, really.
Like if that's a spot where you only have $4,300 left and you need a receiver, or let's say you have 45
there are guys there.
Yeah. Like I think that Jarvis Landry's a fine play. Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, Zach Pascal, like you mentioned. Like I'd play all 4 of those guys on DraftKings over playing Curtis Samuel. I'd probably play all 4 of those guys in the season long over Curtis Samuel.
How did you how did you not mention Michael Leone's boy, super cool Cole Beasley?
He doesn't play the full complement of snaps when Duke Williams is healthy, and I just no for Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley, when it's just him, it's 100% of the snaps, and you know that the Bills are going to be in passing situations. I like it, but he's essentially Hunter Renfrow at this point, who's not good.
Well, yeah, Hunter Renfrow is not good, but I mean, Beasley is kind of like their substitute for the rushing game when things are not going well. But I mean, the point you make is definitely valid, which is things are going to go fine for them against Washington this week. It's just not going to be a big deal.
Yeah, like even circling back to the low end running backs, Samuels and Walton are clearly the 2 best values, but like Gore and Peterson are down there. I could see those 2 combining for 45 carries this week. It feels like that type of game.
Yeah, Gore did not play very much last week, though. Gore only
because they were down. But if they're 9.5 point favorites this week, like we've seen this earlier in the year too, when they were losing to the Patriots before he got hurt. Singletary was playing all these snaps. He plays when they're losing because he's the pass catcher. When they're up, it's all Gore.
You know what's so funny about that? Devin Singletary is not even a good pass catcher. He's short and he's slow and he's overweight. Like it's crazy to me that he is the pass catching back when he is like that. Just like you think of guys like, Chris Thompson, Jalen Richard, like really fast, agile guys. And Devin Singletary is like CJ Anderson.
I don't know about that. Like the acceleration that he shows when he turns the corner is really impressive to like watch in real time. You see it with some of these guys. Like Miles Sanders can't get to the outside in order to turn the corner. But once he does, like he looks really impressive. Darrell Henderson's probably the best one. Like the acceleration that he has once he has the opening, I feel like Singletary's sort of in his bucket. Like you're just surprised he's so fast.
Well, I'm not touting any of this based on grinding the film. I'm literally just basing it all on combine numbers, and Devin Singletary is not fast.
I mean, I watched the games, and he does seem pretty fast to me.
The touchdown he scored last week was really impressive. I thought it was really good.
So, yeah, you might need to reevaluate your situation on Devin Singletary. I think he's a bad fantasy play because I think they're up on this game and he's just not going to be on the field.
Yeah, he's not in the mix this week at all. Probably will only be playing John Brown from this game.
I don't even know if I want to do that. So the rest of the guys, so Samuel, likely to play no practice. Same as D.D. Westbrook. N'Keal Harry could come back. Would you pick him up in season long?
Oh, definitely. I have picked him up in some of like my 6-2, 7-1 teams. Just because they have such a vacancy at wide receiver. Philip Dorsett is fine. Jacoby Myers is fine. Julian Edelman is, he's just going to always be what Julian Edelman is, but they don't really have a tight end that they trust. Ben Watson has just barely been involved. And, they don't like to use James White a ton during the regular season. So I kind of think that N'Keal Harry might have quite a decent second half of the year.
So as a spec ad, you're in on it. But like he might not even play this week against the Ravens. Like there's no way you'd play him this week, not knowing what his
No.
status might be. And that's the Sunday night game. So if you actually relied on him to be active, not knowing anything because he hasn't played a snap this year, you might be shit out of luck.
I would not start him until the Patriots started him and at, like after that game. So like I would need a game for him to play, 60% of the snaps, Jacoby Myers to play like none of them, and for him to have like played well.
But if you had Jacoby Myers on your team right now and they were both bench guys, you'd make that swap.
Yeah, because again, Jacoby Myers was a good speculative ad, and it's just he's too far down the pecking order. They're going to run a lot. Julian Edelman's going to get all the easy targets. Philip Dorsett's going to get all the deep targets. So there's just not really much of which, by the way, was the problem for Josh Gordon too. Like that role doesn't really exist in the Patriots offense anymore because they don't throw deep anymore.
What would you do with Josh if you still had Josh Gordon? You hadn't cut him yet. Would you keep him?
If you cut him right now, you'd feel like an idiot. Like just because wherever he goes, he's clearly not that injured. So wherever he goes, he's going to get a chance to play, I would think. And I still think he's pretty good. Like I still think he's got some juice. So you definitely don't cut him, and if he's on your waiver wire, you should add him
just to see where he ends up playing.
Yeah, at the very worst, you're picking up an asset that is at its absolute bottom. He will never be worth less than he will. I mean, 5 years from now, he'll be worth less or whatever, or if he retires. But he is at a total nadir of value right now.
Where do you think that the optimal location for him to go fantasy wise, maybe even real life wise at this point? It feels like it's the Colts, doesn't it?
Oh, I think it's Kansas City.
Because how many receivers can Kansas City have?
Well, Tyreek is best used as like a gimmick. He just is not a real wide receiver one. The team has clearly realized the limitations for Sammy Watkins. So then your 11 personnel is Tyreek in the slot, Sammy Watkins as the move guy, so at the Y, and then Josh Gordon becomes like a real actual X wide receiver, which the team is like they're trying to make Sammy that guy, and he just can't do it.
I can see how it benefits their receiving core. They don't desperately need a receiver, though, especially with now T.Y. Hilton out 3 to 4 weeks, that if you can get like tread water while he's out, you have Josh Gordon and then you have T.Y. coming back. Like now your offense looks pretty good.
I think that is an interesting situation. Also, the Chargers seem interesting to me because they have, Mike Williams is another guy who he just seems to be miscast as a volume wide receiver. Like, he's just kind of like evolutionary Travis Benjamin, which is kind of funny because they've been teammates for 2 years. And, Keenan is banged up. He's got this hamstring injury. They're horrible at running the ball. So they really need to be focusing more assets on the passing game. And he would definitely give them a different dimension.
And they actually have the best chance of getting him of the 3 teams that we mentioned because they have the worst record. Do you think any of these, like the Skins or the Dolphins or the 1-6 teams, 1-7 teams, that they'll take a shot on because they'll have first crack based on waiver priority?
Well, I would think the Dolphins should, because their whole deal is just trying to gather assets. So I think theoretically they could claim him, play him for the rest of the year, give him a new contract this offseason, and then either trade him on that new contract to get a pick or just keep him on the roster all year. And if he leaves, you get a compensatory pick.
I don't know if the Dolphins have been doing a lot of really savvy things in order to not only tank, but try to appreciate
that on-field product, though. It is tough to watch.
Yeah, it's not like they're losing money.
Yeah, the 76ers, like, what's so funny is the tanking 76ers were like actually kind of fun to watch because they just had all these young athletic guys, and tanking football is just not fun to watch.
Marquise Lee ruled out. Will Fuller ruled out. I'm really pissed that Houston's not on the main slate this week because this would have been a perfect go back to Kenny Stills spot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're on that Sunday morning showdown slate, and definitely he played 90% of the snaps each of the last 2 weeks. He's a guy, if you have him in seasonal, that's just got to be a bink for sure.
Yeah, I am top 25 this week. Plus, the only drawback is it looks like Tunsil and Titus Howard are game time decisions. They're probably not going to play. Like Jags D is going to eat Deshaun Watson alive this week. He's going to have no time for anything.
Do you like the Jaguars side of that game?
I do. Jags +2. That's the play.
Yeah. I like the Houston side.
Really? How come?
I mean, it's very reductive, but oftentimes on spreads that close, I just kind of think, well, which quarterback is better? And Gardner Minshew is playing out of his skull and is still half a yard worse than Deshaun Watson in terms of yards per play. So like, I just think Watson is better, and I think that game goes into the fourth quarter tied. You just think like, okay, the Texans are just going to win this game. Though Watson has a huge disadvantage of having a dolt as his head coach.
Well, these are the three factors that I like to put into it that I try to mix together and see where it kind of pops itself out. And this is something I'm really trying out for the second half of the season, because I try to go to it and I use it and then I like win a bunch and I'm like, oh, I can't lose. And I lose all my money thinking I can't lose. But the three most important things to look at are offensive line injuries, quarterback matchup, and head coaching matchup. So I think in this situation, the Jags actually win two of the three, because Bill O'Brien's like the worst coach in football and their offensive line is just completely banged up.
Yeah, and offensive line injuries are really big, and that's definitely stuff that I don't think that stuff impacts lines all that much, because the public is not really tracking that. So if you feel really strongly about those, I definitely think that's an interesting thing to track and use in your wagering.
It really is, because as you hit on, it's not factored into the lines whatsoever, because it doesn't shift public money. Like if a quarterback goes out, we've even seen the Indy spread drop from -1 to pick 'em. That might even be, it's now Pittsburgh -1. So basically what they've said is that T.Y. Hilton is worth 2 points on the spread. I still like Indy in that game because, again, I look at the coach and I look at the quarterback. I'm like, well, Indy has the best of both worlds in this situation.
Yeah, I like the Indy side by a bit, because I don't even think T.Y. Hilton is that instrumental to what they do on offense. He's very good. I would say he's probably worth about half a point to me.
Yeah, so now it's almost like we're getting a free 2 points here. Based on, yes, you're right. Having Hilton would be a boost. He makes their offense better. But I think that taking him away doesn't do as much, especially in this particular matchup, as maybe you'd think.
Yeah, well, both teams are just going to try and run a lot. Like that's the whole deal that they're trying to do, is that both of these teams are just wanting to play very conservative. Both of them play very slow on offense. Both of them play very methodical. So it's also not a situation where you imagine Pittsburgh getting up by 14 and Jacoby Brissett, having to chase, throwing to Zach Pascal and Jack Doyle.
Well, let's rank these guys then. Now that T.Y. Hilton is out, and we'll take the running backs out of the situation. So pass catchers for the Colts this week against the Steelers. So you have Zach Pascal, Paris Campbell, the Frenchman. You have Chester Rogers, Jack Doyle, and Eric Ebron. Rank those five guys just objectively, no price.
Pascal, Doyle, Ebron, Campbell, Rogers.
I would go Pascal, Ebron, Campbell, Doyle, Rogers.
My man, no respect for Jack Doyle, who had eight targets and a touchdown in the last game that T.Y. Hilton missed.
Did he really?
He really did against the Raiders.
Against the Raiders? What did Ebron do in that game? Nothing?
You know what's funny is Eric Ebron is the Mark Ingram of tight ends, but somehow
no. Jared Cook is the Mark Ingram of tight ends.
So in that game against the Raiders, Eric Ebron had 5 targets, 1 reception, 48 yards, and a touchdown.
Oh, that's pretty good. It's a good fantasy day.
Yeah, good fantasy day. That he has not been targeted more than 5 times in a game this year.
All right. I would just say that Pascal is probably the only one of those 5 that actually interests me.
I'll for sure play Doyle. Tight end is such a cesspool.
You do not need to play Doyle this week. You can play your main man, Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, you can, but Doyle is cheaper. Doyle is $3K flat.
Yeah, but he's also significantly worse, especially as a play this week. Yeah, I would think so.
I don't think he is significant. I don't agree with that.
Like I could see Noah Fant having a better day than Jack Doyle.
I guess the thing is it's a very safe spot. Like I feel very comfortable that Jack Doyle is going to get me at least 7 DraftKings points.
That's not doing anyone any good.
Tight end is bad this week.
Then pay up. Get some more points, better than 7.
Tight end. So this week at tight end, in the main slate, we have on Daily Roto, we have 3 plays as positive value plays on Daily Roto.
Can I try to guess who they are?
Well, you're gonna miss one.
Waller, Ertz, and Henry.
No, Ertz is not, because we had to adjust his rates down a little bit with Deshaun Jackson returning. So the 3 tight ends that are by our algorithm, like plus value plays.
Let me guess. Jack Doyle is one of them.
Jack Doyle, Darren Waller, Cameron Brate.
Well, Brate we don't even have an update on Brate yet. Like, we don't know if he's playing or not.
Oh, Tanner Hudson season is going to be glorious.
Would it be? That's the thing, because OJK, the full injury report at tight end right now, Brate is still iffy with this ribs problem that he's had. He hasn't practiced yet this week. We're still waiting on Friday to see what happens. Lacoste and Herndon doesn't look like they're playing. OJ Howard, Vernon Davis, Jeff Heuerman, and Delaney Walker have already all been ruled out. So that has really opened up Jonnu Smith for the world at $3,800. That's who people are gravitating towards as the cheaper tight end. But if Brate sits, are we sure it's Tanner Hudson? It's not Canadian golf sensation Ian Leggett or that other guy that they have?
Anthony Eau Claire.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, he played 41% of the snaps last week. Brate played 67%. Tanner Hudson played 26%. But that was more than... Basically, they did away with Scotty Miller's role. So Brashad Perryman only played 70% of the snaps, and Scott Miller played 10 snaps only. So I think Hudson seems kind of safe to me.
But what do you mean by safe? Like he's a
not
like
safe,
like 50
not safe.
like 50-50 to not get 0 points?
Oh, if Cameron Brate does not play, Tanner Hudson will not get 0 points.
Okay, how about this then? Since you love Jack Doyle so much and you seem to love Tanner Hudson because he's a safe play, who would you rather play?
I need to take that back. He's not safe, but he's fine.
All right. Ed Dixon is a game time decision for this game too for Seattle against Tampa. That's interesting.
Is it? You want to play some Luke Wilson?
No, I don't want to play Luke Wilson, but like Dixon has been a part of this offense. He hasn't played all year. So if Dixon ends up playing, he has to be the mid. I'm thinking. He is, yeah.
This is how bad tight end is this week. We're literally talking about guys coming off the IR playing on it. Luke Wilson played a lot of snaps last week. So maybe also it's interesting.
But also, yeah, Ed Dixon is going to take over most of those snaps, I would imagine.
I guess if he's healthy, probably. They also like this Jacob Hollister fella.
Yeah, but he's kind of a nothing, isn't he? Like he's been there, he doesn't do anything.
So he is like more of a pass catching tight end. He's played 2 games for them, 52% of the snaps against Baltimore, 6 targets, 35% of the snaps in that win against Atlanta, 2 targets.
Yeah, here we are. Cameron Brate ribs is questionable for the Buccaneers week 9. Thanks, Roto World. That's fantastic news. I don't know. Maybe it's just best to pay up a little bit, get like Hunter Henry and be on your way.
If I was paying up, I would play Waller.
I worry about that game just a little bit. Like if it works out really well for the Lions because they can't run the ball anyway. And the one thing that the Raiders do really well offensively or defensively is stop the run. So it's just going to be passing season for Matt Stafford. And when we get to the ownership, it reflects that. People love Matt Stafford this week. But if you switch it around, if Oakland, who are favorites in this game, do what they do well, they're going to run a ton of plays.
Yeah, they just want to run.
But they want to run and throw really short passes, high percentage passes, high volume passes, like old school, basically like early 90s Bills, but without the no huddle type of offense, like 4-yard passes, like West Coast offense type style, the Gruden special, that they're going to run all these plays, but they're going to milk the clock at the same time, that maybe we don't see the bulk of plays we expect from this game. Like if I had to ask you right now, there's 2 high scoring games this week. One is that game, the Raiders and Lions game. The other one is Bucs Seattle. Which one do you think ends up scoring more points? I would say like 70% it's Bucs Seattle.
See, I think that it's actually Detroit and Oakland, because I think that there's just a big possibility in that Seattle Tampa Bay game of, Jameis just Jameising. So
yeah, that's great. Jameis can go full Jameis in that game, but then it's also full Jameis in that game where he has 3 quarters just to air it out.
But in that scenario, we're talking about Seattle does an even more extreme of running the air out of the ball, where they like, so in that second half against Atlanta last week, they had 4 possessions. 3 of them were punts. Like all they want to do is get up 10 points and end the game in any way possible. So I am kind of sketched out by that game, actually.
I mean, I like the Buccaneers side of the ball more than I like the Seattle side of the ball. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I don't think that Seattle is going to be able to milk the clock against them. Tampa Bay's run defense is so good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like. Yeah, but they have Russ Wilson. They have Chris Carson.
How about this? Breaking news on the show right now. You ready for this?
Yeah.
The Seahawks have claimed Josh Gordon.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty big.
Yeah. I don't know if he plays this week or not, but
they have to make him active by tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Okay, so that's something that we'll end up knowing. What does that do?
He's not going to play.
So he's not going to play. Let's just say he plays next week. Let's just talk about this from a season-long perspective as it pertains to Josh Gordon. So you now have Lockett.
This is a horrible, horrible landing spot for fantasy. It's so bad.
But it's a great real-life spot, though.
Yeah, I mean, he probably sees... If he shows up, he's ready to go. He works as hard as he can, and the coaching staff likes him. He gets 30 targets the rest of the year, tops probably.
Do you think that he gets more targets than DK Metcalf does? Because I would imagine he does, because Metcalf is just like go routes and red zone. Yeah,
but that's super valuable in this offense because they don't have Will Dissly. They don't have new Gronkowski. No. So they actually need what Metcalf does now.
I know, I understand that, but it does seem like, I mean, Gordon's also a big body who can stretch the field a bit. He'll play on the outside, Lockett will play on the inside. Like, you can get rid of your Jaron Browns and your David Moores. I do think this is a pretty good upgrade if he's actually healthy.
Oh, this is a huge real life upgrade because now they don't have to give any snaps to Jaron Brown. They can play without a tight end a lot more now. They have like good enough personnel that they can play like 10 personnel if they want to, which Russell Wilson is really good at when you spread stuff out like that. So I think this is a great real life landing spot.
If you had to rank him rest of the season for fantasy purposes, if I just like go into my wide receiver rankings like right now on your fantasy team, would you rather own DK Metcalf or Josh Gordon?
I would rather own Josh Gordon because Metcalf is not a guy you ever feel comfortable starting. And Gordon, if you saw one good game from him where he was targeted 9 times or whatever, you would start him the rest of the year and feel fine with it.
Would you rather have Courtland Sutton or Josh Gordon?
Oh, Sutton. Sutton is like top 15-ish guy rest of the way.
He's not.
He's like
not with that quarterback situation. He's not.
Well, he's only going to be the quarterback for 2 more games. Right? Because they have
until Drew Lock comes back. Is he any good?
Drew Lock, I mean, he can't be that much worse than 2019 Joe Flacco, I think.
Maybe. Sterling Shepard or Josh Gordon.
Josh Gordon. I don't want Daniel Jones as 4th guy.
I don't think it's his 4th guy. It could be his number 1 guy. I don't think Slayton has passed Shepard. Slayton gets usage because Shepard wasn't there.
Well, yeah, no, you got Tate, Ingram, Barkley,
right.
Shepard.
Jamison Crowder or Josh Gordon?
Gordon. Crowder's just like he's just the no ceiling guy.
Yeah, he's better Cole Beasley.
I don't even know if he's better Cole Beasley.
Yeah, we'll see Robbie Anderson or Josh Gordon.
Oh, Robbie Anderson. So I still kind of believe in Darnold a little bit. I hope Tim Anderson is not listening to this, but I still think Darnold has like a little bit of game.
Who else down here? Jarvis Landry or Josh Gordon?
I mean, it would be very biased of me to say Josh Gordon, but I'm going to say it anyways because there's probably no player I like less than Jarvis Landry.
Okay, Preston Williams or Josh Gordon?
Josh Gordon. Preston Williams is I don't know. I'd rather have Devontae Parker.
Okay, Devontae Parker or Josh Gordon then?
I think it's Devontae Parker.
So basically what we're saying is that Josh Gordon at best is a low wide receiver 3 in a 12-team league. Probably a flex.
Yeah, it's just but also you're going to know if you can cut him, I think. I think that basically, not this week, but next week, if he doesn't play, if he's not out on the field, if he's not playing over Jaron Brown and David Moore, you can just let him go. You don't have to waste a roster spot on him anymore.
No, I agree with that, but you're going to want him just based on the upside. And maybe we're wrong about this, and maybe all of a sudden he's playing 100% of the snaps, and he's great with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's the upside. The upside is just that he has like a crazy efficiency season over the second half because he's playing with this all-world quarterback.
Back to tight ends just very briefly. You keep talking about, I still like Ebron more than I like Doyle. If one of them is going to catch a touchdown, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Ebron. But with Delaney Walker out, would you play in season long Jonnu Smith or Jack Doyle? I play Jonnu for the record, and I wouldn't even think about it.
Yeah, I think it's Jonnu just because he probably does have like a little bit more upside or whatever. It would actually probably depend if I thought I was a favorite or a dog.
I think either way, you just play the guy who's going to be scoring more points, which is probably Jonnu 80% of the time.
I mean, the thing is that we have this big, long sample of Ryan Tannehill being pretty bad. And we also have a pretty decent sample of Jonnu Smith being on the field and not being targeted. These like last 2 games of him being targeted is only the second and third time he's been targeted more than 4 times in his career. So I'm just really not that big of a Jonnu Smith guy, I guess.
I believe I think I saw it was like 7 games without Delaney Walker active. Jonnu Smith, he had the goose egg that everyone remembers from the end of last year. But even towards after Delaney Walker got hurt and Jonnu Smith came back a year ago, I think that he averages like 9 fantasy points per game.
Yeah, I mean, I like he's like a pretty interesting player. He was actually good in college too. So I like I don't like think he's horrible or anything, but Jack Doyle has just for a long time been a very like consistent target getter. Maybe just like the daily roto math is wearing off on me too much, but he's just a guy who's going to get volume in this offense with T.Y. Hilton now.
It's also a much worse matchup too. Like the Pittsburgh defense is actually quite good.
The Carolina defense is pretty good though. They're like 5th in DVOA.
Yeah,
which you love.
They are bad against the run, better against the pass. But I think if you're going to, much like San Francisco, if you're going to try to beat them, you try to beat them from the slot.
Yeah, Carolina is 5th in the NFL in DVOA. That's pretty good.
You have to think about how this game breaks down, too. They're underdogs in this game, so theoretically they'll have to throw more. And now they're missing their center, so the pass rush, which Carolina is quite good at, is going to have to bring the house the entire time. So maybe Smith has to block. That's always one part of it. But if it goes the other way, it's going to be Ryan Tannehill getting the ball out quickly, which would lead me to Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, and I mean, that's definitely a situation where it could work out. Like, I think both of them are good plays. I will probably have both. Like, I'll probably only have like 8 tight ends total this weekend, and both of them would be in there. It's just like this is bad even for tight ends.
8 tight ends, good God, man! Just play fewer lineups.
I mean, maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's how you win. Okay, so I think the tight ends that you want. Waller, Ertz, Doyle, Smith, and then one of Braid or Hudson. Those are the guys I for sure want to play.
I'm looking at, I think Jonnu Smith is in the mix if you want to pay down. I agree with you on Waller. I think Hunter Henry is super attractive in this matchup. Even Kelsey. Minnesota has not been great against tight ends. And even with Matt Moore, like you see more of Kelsey all the time. The one that, the pay down guy that I'm kind of interested in, I know he scored the 2 touchdowns last week. That's not sustainable whatsoever. But I'm just very intrigued by this Jets-Miami game that I think that if Herndon sits, then Ryan Griffin is someone that you could probably play.
And if he was the dead minimum, I would be kind of interested in him. But I don't know if I want to play him at 3,400.
I mean, it's $400 more than Jack Doyle. Who cares?
It like that's 400. Like everything is priced so efficiently this week, and with Christian McCaffrey at 10,000, like the DraftKings guys, they did a great job of pricing stuff this week because you have to think about all of those decisions.
All right. Quarterback injuries. Flacco put on IR. Mahomes probably going to sit again and then return. They have a bye next week, right?
Kansas City has a bye in week 12.
All right.
So maybe for a couple of weeks.
So yeah, then maybe we get Mahomes next week or the week after. We'll see. Dwayne Haskins is starting for the Washington Redskins. Bad news for Scorin McLaurin, but it wasn't a great matchup with Tre'Davious White Anyway, he could still be like viable. I have him as a low-end wide receiver 3 this week. I just don't like really anyone in that game. Just sounds like not a whole lot of points are going to happen. Offensive line injuries. Again, I wanted to highlight this. Ben Jones, the center for the Titans, is out with a concussion. Tunsil and Titus Howard for the Texans, both game time decisions, may not play. And then Joanna Man James for the Broncos is going to miss this game too, which leads us into the FanShare Sports portion of this show. Davis, the highest owned players on DraftKings for the week. If you want to get full access to fansharesports.com, use the code PME at checkout, get yourself a discount, and get all these good leverage spots they have from aggregating everything together. These are the 5 highest owned players, one at each position. Not the highest owned on the slate, but highest at each position. Davis, see if this makes sense to you. I got Jalen Samuels at 40% ownership. I have, let's see here, Matt Stafford at 15% ownership, Darren Waller at 16% ownership, Kenny Golladay at 17% ownership, and the most popular defense of the week, the Carolina Panthers at 15%.
Yeah, I think all of those sound fairly accurate. Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you. I think Waller will actually end up being a little bit more than that, but that's really my only disagreement.
If he's more than that, would that take you off of him, or are you just using him because that's the play in this game? Like him and Tyrell Williams and Derek Carr are all projected top 3 at their position.
Yeah, it wouldn't get me off him. I mean, probably I only want to use Waller with Stafford or with Carr. Like the rule I would make in the Daily Row Optimizer would just be, if Darren Waller exactly one of Matt Stafford or Derek Carr, because I'm not super interested in him as a one-off, because I think for him to be the optimal play this week, I think he really has to score 25 or so, because there's a lot of cheap tight ends that are going to be popular that people are into playing. We've covered 5 guys who are cheap, who we think that people are going to play this week.
Let's just talk about defenses before I let you go of who are the plays of the week. I mentioned Carolina's already popular. Now the Titans are down their center as underdogs with Ryan Tannehill. That appears to me to be the best value on the board, but I really like the Browns at $3,100. If things break right for them, you have a banged up offensive line that wasn't good to begin with in Denver. If the Browns can somehow get up in this game, and that would lead me to Jarvis Landry as well, who I think could be in a breakout spot here against the Broncos. You think Chris Harris plays on Odell, who's dealing with a groin injury. Just a lot of room for Jarvis to work in this offense. If they can get up, it's going to be open season on Brandon Allen. Like that makes a lot of sense to me.
I mean, the only reason I don't think that they are I would rank them as my number 2 defense of the week if I thought that Denver was not cowards. But I think that their coaching staff I think they're just going to be very cowardly. And I think that, really even down 10 points, I think they're still going to be trying to establish it.
The only other ones, like Carolina and Cleveland, are my 2 favorite. I think showdown slate, or even in season long, just play Jacksonville against Houston. That's going to be a good move. I'm on board with playing the Redskins. I think the Redskins at $1,800, if you have to save money, using anyone against the Bills is usually a pretty good idea. Just because Josh Allen's apt to give you the ball for 6 points. So that's always nice. The other one for me would be Green Bay. I know Green Bay is pricey at $3,400, but they're an attacking defense. We know that the Chargers are banged up. I think the Chargers actually win against the Packers, or at least cover that spread against the Packers. But I'm wrong on a lot of this stuff. I'm wrong on a lot of this stuff. It just seems like it's going to be a lot of chucking from Phillip Rivers. If you give them open season, he's bound to turn the ball over in some horrendous fashion at some point.
Yeah, I like the Chargers side of that game by quite a bit as well. I'm very in agreement with you there.
Well, that's never good. If we're both on the same page, it means it's got to be wrong.
Yeah, that means you just need to be getting anything you can down on the Packers money line.
So you said you like the Steelers D?
Yeah, I like the Steelers. Just for a cheap defense, 2,400. They're basically just not a bad defensive unit, able to pressure the quarterback a little bit. They've been a very good defense this year. They've been in double-digit fantasy points every week since week 3. So just seems a little cheap. The Panthers, though, to me, are the defense I want to play the most.
Yeah, and they're only $2,800. They're not killing you. If I was going to pay down, I'd actually still take the Skins over the Steelers.
I mean, I want to play Washington just because it does it just does a lot of good things for your lineup. You can play a lot better players.
Yeah, like if I was going to play the Steelers D, I'd try to find the $400 to get up to Carolina, where if you just play the Skins, you can save yourself $600.
Yeah, I mean, and so another reason why I like the Pittsburgh defense though is just because I am going to have so much Jalen Samuels. I do like that game flow correlation there.
All right. Davis Mattek at Davis Mattek on the Twitter box, and promo code ThePME at dailyroto.com if you want to get yourself a discount on all of their products, not just football, but tell us what's going on over at Daily Roto these days.
Well, I mean, we have the Daily Roto NBA optimizer with the absolute best projections that you're going to get from lineupstudy.com. Daily Roto's NBA projections have the highest R squared to the actual results of any given slate. If you don't speak nerd, that basically just means that when all the projections across the industry were tested, Daily Roto's were the most accurate to the real results. So, the fact that, multiple daily fantasy millionaires just choose to use Daily Roto's NBA product really, really to me says all that needs to be said.
Like I mentioned, the PME get you a discount here. Last thing before I let you out of here, Warren Sharp just tweeted this out. In 11 personnel, which is what the Seahawks pass from 78% of the time, Russell Wilson is already averaging 8.3 yards per attempt, a 16-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and now he has Josh Gordon to fit into that. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, sounds pretty good. The issue is just, how much are they going to be able to get Josh Gordon on the field? And if they're able to get him on the field a lot, that is going to be huge for them. And I await to see the results. I think a very realistic scenario to me is that DK Metcalf just kind of becomes Will Dissly in terms of the routes that he runs, and Gordon and Metcalf kind of like Gordon goes outside and plays those positions.
You can find my DraftKings cheat sheet up on dkplaybook.com late on Friday night or early on Saturday morning. All the rankings for the week are updated with all the injuries. You can find those in the description of this video and podcast, along with the link to the Pat Mayo Experience Open Davis, which you should most definitely play. And subscribe to Davis's Takecast. I will be a guest on next week. He's had an NFL player on. Always one of the better shows around. I'll be back momentarily with Dr. Jesse Morse of the Fantasy Doctors to talk about the most severe injuries long-term moving forward for your fantasy teams. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Pat Mayo Experience. Let's dig in to some of these injuries just a little bit more. Joining me on the line from thefantasydoctors.com, it is, as you've gotten to know, Dr. Jesse Morse. Doc, first question comes up. James Conner, doubtful for week 9, but could return in week 10. We'll see about that. It's a shoulder injury. It's an AC joint. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is and what the perfect timetable would be for him?
Yeah, so AC joint or shoulder sprain is a injury where you land directly on your shoulder. You think of like riding your bicycle and flipping over the handlebars and landing directly on your shoulder. That's usually kind of how these happen. Obviously, football a little different. But traditionally, where the collarbone meets the shoulder is the AC joint, and there's ligaments that keep it intact. And depending on the severity of the injury, you can have one or multiple ligaments that are torn. The fact that he's unlikely to play this week means that it's not only a grade 1, which is likely what Miles Sanders had. Instead, he's probably either got a grade 2 or a grade 3, which means that at least several of the ligaments are sprained, if not completely torn. The fact that they didn't initially comment on surgery means it's not likely a more severe one, like a grade 4 or grade 5, which are mandatory surgery. So that makes me think that this is going to take a good 2 to 3 weeks to fully heal, or heal to the point where he can play.
So if let's say they end up rushing him back and he ends up playing in week 10, what would be his chances for re-aggravation of this injury? Like, are you more susceptible to hurting your shoulder more at this point, or is it just a pain tolerance type of thing?
It's a combination of both. The issue is that these hurt. These really hurt. And you really need your AC joint for anything reaching across your body. So trying to grab a pass from the, coming across his body, think of it as like trying to grab a seatbelt across your body. So that movement is very painful. and it takes time to allow the inflammation to calm down and allow those ligaments to scar down. So if he comes back too soon, he can worsen that ligament or the ligament tear and cause a full tear, which is usually then surgery. So they're usually pretty smart about these. And if he's available to come back in week 2, 2 weeks out, he probably will. But a lot of the times they will wait to the 3rd week if these guys are really still hurting.
And it might depend, too, on where the Steelers sit. If they end up losing the next 2 games, maybe you don't rush James Conner back and just continue to ride with Jalen Samuels. T.Y. Hilton injured himself in practice this week, hurt his calf, and now he is out 3 to 4 weeks. What do we expect from him? Is that a proper timetable? Should he be out longer? And once he returns, how close to 100% do you think he'll be?
So calf and groin injuries are notoriously slow to heal. They are soft tissue injuries that don't get very good blood supplies and have a tendency to re-aggravate, especially in football. The gastroc or calf muscle is our propulsion unit for when you're running. So you need this muscle for speed, and you can't do it if it's partially torn. The fact that they're talking 3 weeks means it's not just a simple grade 1. It's probably closer to a grade 2. Grade 3s are pretty hard and usually torn off the bone and usually require surgery. So that kind of gives us an idea. As you remember with Andrew Luck, and he still does exist, that these are annoying and they can re-aggravate if you come back too quickly. So I think 3 weeks is realistic. I think 3 or 4 or 5 weeks may be even more realistic, because when you want him out there, you want him there good. You don't want him to be kind of good. When he's back, he should be close to 100% as long as they don't rush him back.
N'Keal Harry is due to be activated off the IR for week 9. No word yet on whether he's going to play for the Patriots or not, but he was put on there because of an ankle injury. What do you expect from him, at least even in terms of the ankle, in terms of conditioning, and when do you think that we end up seeing him?
I think there's a very good chance he plays this week. I'm a Patriots fan. In my opinion, this is our scariest, most concerning game of the year. Baltimore always plays us tough. And it's in Baltimore. Lamar is a special beast. So they need all the weapons they can get. They haven't had the best luck with wide receivers this year between Brown and Gordon and whatnot. So Sanu's getting acclimated, but I think they're going to need Harry to stretch the field. I'm not overly concerned about his injuries. They gave him over 6, 7, 8 weeks to fully heal. And that also allowed him to learn the playbook, which is usually very challenging for most rookies and even veterans because of how complicated the playbook is supposedly in New England. So I don't expect him to do a ton this week, but I think going forward, he has the potential to be a wide receiver 2 with upside. And between him, Edelman, Sanu, and Dorsett have the potential to form a nice little tandem if everybody can stay healthy.
Yeah, I think wide receiver 2, if we're talking fantasy, might be a bit high just because I don't know how the target distribution works out in this offense. Plus, Tom Brady doesn't really throw the deep ball anymore. So if that's what he's out there to do, it seems like a bit of more of a wide receiver 5 type thing. Like, I don't know if you're ever going to play N'Keal Harry, right?
Not yet. Not yet. A lot of things can happen between now and then.
I guess
between now and maybe week 11, 12.
Well, the guy that was on the team, Josh Gordon, is now a member of the Seattle Seahawks. Not really concerned about his fantasy value there. It's more about the health status. So it seems like he was healthy enough to come back. The Patriots didn't want him back. They let him go. What do you make of this knee injury with Josh Gordon?
Something's fishy with this situation. I don't know. You don't cut a perfectly healthy receiver who should be 85% by now, 75, and put him on IR after a week or 2 when you're trying to trade for new receivers. That's not something a normal team would do. So something happened here. I think this is just bad blood, and they're just like, we're going to cut bait and move on. So I'm not overly concerned about his injury. I mean, he had a combination of likely a high ankle sprain as well as an MCL sprain. So high ankle being the one we're used to hearing. These usually take 2 to 3 weeks, and we're kind of in that window for him. MCL sprains is that ligament that runs north to south on the inside of the knee. On average, they take about 2 to 3 weeks as well. So as far as I'm concerned, he is pretty healthy.
Okay, so that's good news for Russell Wilson and the Seahawks offense. We'll see how quickly he can get incorporated in the Pacific Northwest. Patrick Mahomes, he's questionable for this week. I doubt that he is going to end up playing against the Vikings. When would you expect to see him back, and how long will it actually take for him to be at full health here?
So I think what the Chiefs are doing, and they're being really smart with this, which I think is how it should be. I don't think they're going to rush him back. I don't think he's going to play this week. The earliest timetable for what the majority of the data shows for this injury is 3 weeks, which would be next week. They kind of did the same thing with Tyreek Hill. They didn't rush him back, but they brought him back on the early end of a normal return to play, which is basically what they would potentially do with Mahomes if he misses this week. He's gonna have to wear a brace because the ligament that keeps the kneecap in place is torn in some capacity, whether it's partial or complete. So he's going to have to wear a knee brace or even KT tape in addition to knee brace to prevent that kneecap from flip-flopping out. And when if that were to happen without a knee brace on, he's going to, redislocate it again and have probably even additional more damage that could be detrimental. So they have to be smart. He's probably going to have off-season knee surgery to fix this ligament, but they need him to be mobile, which is something he probably won't be for the next couple of weeks until he gets confidence in this knee. So when he starts, hopefully not this week, probably next week, I think he will be good with his arm, but his mobility is kind of what we like him for, and I don't think he'll be as mobile as we're hoping for.
Minnesota, Tennessee, the Chargers the next 3 weeks. And I believe that Chargers game's in Mexico City. So let's say that the Chiefs beat the Vikings this week with Matt Moore. Then you have Tennessee and the Chargers the next 2 weeks. You still have a stranglehold on the division, depending on how stuff breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
And at worst, you're definitely in the front runner seat for the 6th seed or even the 5th seed for the wild card in the AFC, because there are no good teams in the AFC. Is there a legitimate chance that they look at this and be like, we have 2 weeks and then we have a bye week. Let's just sit him out a month and hopefully he gets healthy?
I think this is arguably the face of not only his franchise, but the NFL. I mean, you could probably make a valid case for that. Why would you risk his knee potentially permanently? I mean, if in a worst case scenario, permanently for 2 games that your backup could probably win you. Be smart and play the long road. And have him ready for the end of the season and then the playoff stretch when they're actually going to need him. While these games are important, I just don't think that they need his level of talent to beat these teams. They are playing the Patriots later. I definitely will expect him to be back by then, but I don't think it's the worst idea to sit him out till the bye. But at the same time, he's going to want to be itching to go, and this is just the nature of these pro athletes. This is just how they think.
Will Fuller has already missed a week with a hamstring injury. He's not going to play in London this week. Then Houston goes on bye the following week. So when the Texans return in week 11 at Baltimore, do you think that Will Fuller will be on the field?
No.
Okay.
I don't trust Will Fuller. I love his talent. We saw his immense upside, but he just struggles with injuries. It sounds like he had a pretty significant hamstring tear, at least a partial. On a best case scenario, these are 4 to 5 week injuries. And I don't think he's quite going to be there yet. He's going to be close. I just don't think he's going to be quite there yet.
Okay. Cam Newton, in this foot injury, is not getting close to 100%. Do we see him again this season?
No. He has season-ending surgery within the next week by Dr. Anderson in Green Bay.
And that just if he gets, so it's what, a Liz Frank injury?
Yeah. So he sprained his Liz Frank, which is essentially the ligament that makes up the arch of your foot. You kind of think of it that way. This is the same surgery that Hollywood Brown had in the offseason. Very important structure in the foot. You really can't do anything without this ligament and this complex intact. A comment came out, I think it was today or yesterday, saying that he really hasn't done anything in like 6 weeks and it's still not better. At that point, you almost have to do surgery because you've given it ample time and it's not healing. So you have to go in and reinforce it. And he will be shut down for a good 6 months. And then he will start to ramp back up. he is a mobile quarterback and he needs this. He can't just be a pocket passer. He won't be very good. So they need him to fix this to be semi-normal again. So I think when you go to Bob Anderson, when you go to Dr. Anderson's office, that's usually not a good sign. He is the Dr. Andrews of feet, if you want to put it that way. Usually a confirmation and usually a season-ending confirmation, unfortunately.
Last two, Curtis Samuel and D.D. Westbrook both have shoulder injuries and both look like they're actually going to end up suiting up and starting, or at least playing a little bit for Carolina and Jacksonville this weekend. Would you, and this thing with Samuel happened midweek, then he missed practice Thursday and Friday. D.D. Westbrook exited last week's game with a problem that he came into the week with. Would you expect both these guys to either be limited or the potential to re-aggravate these injuries just is very high?
I'm not overly concerned with Samuel. I'm more concerned with Westbrook, which is unfortunate because Westbrook is a fantastic matchup. The reason why the differentiate between the two, it sounds like Morse is only his shoulder, whereas Westbrook's his shoulder and his neck. Westbrook additionally has been dealing with this for probably 3 weeks now, give or take.
Yeah.
And he's re-aggravated it almost every week. So when I hear that they're not giving him enough time to heal, he's kind of putting a Band-Aid on it and trying to get back out there 6-7 days later. Almost like Matt Breida last year when he kept coming back too soon and he wasn't allowing it to properly heal and underperforming as a result. The way the pattern is going to be run, I think that he should get a ton of targets, but I'm concerned of him re-aggravating it. So it's kind of a slippery slope whether or not you should start him. And I just have a bad feeling that Westbrook is going to re-injure his shoulder, even though he'll probably play.
Especially with the Jags going on bye week next week, that if anything happens, maybe they just pull him and say, you know what, you're sitting down. We have 2 weeks off. Go get yourself healthy.
Yeah, and I think that would be smart. And it's not exact. I mean, it's a great matchup, but that's the London game, I believe.
It is, yeah.
So it's, I mean, flying. I mean, I'm assuming they've already left. So if he already left, there's a good chance he's playing. But yeah, I mean, it would be smart for them to sit him, but I don't think they will, unfortunately.
All right, Dr. Jesse Morse. Follow him on Twitter at Dr. Jesse Morse and tell everyone what's going on over at the Fantasy Doctors.
We are ramping up a combination between basketball, a little bit of hockey injuries, and then we're holding down you guys for the rest of the NFL season. If you have any questions or want to hear about any major injuries, we try to do a major video with a surgeon that actually does the video, actually does the surgery every day. And you can check those out at thefantasydoctors.com or our YouTube page as well.
All right. Thank you for being on the line. Everyone go visit thefantasydoctors.com. I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me on the social medias at the PME, whether that be the Facebooks, the Instagrams, or the Twitter machine. I'm up there at the PME. All the cheat sheets and rankings can be found in the description of this video or at dkplaybook.com, just in case that I forget to do that. Again, if you want to get into a draw for $20 DK, smash the like button for the episode, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and project out Jalen Samuel's ownership in the DraftKings Millionaire Maker this weekend. Like I said 41%. I might be on the low end of that when all is said and done. Also, subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. Rate 5 stars when you leave the review. DraftKings handle, something nice about the show. You too will be in the draw for 20 DK bucks. I am live 9:30 a.m. Eastern time with Gary and the Cuss Sunday morning. Make sure you tune into that. Special shout out to my guy Adam Ronis as well. Just signed on with Fantasy Alarm. Everyone should go follow Adam Ronis at Adam Rotis on Twitter. Guy I go way back with. We used to write at Roto Experts together. Real good guy. Sharp insight too to fantasy football. Far more serious than me and much better than me actually. Anyway, go follow him. I'm Pat Mayo. Good luck this weekend. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!